Your Excellencies, colleagues of LKY SPP, fellow Thai friends in Singapore, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure today to moderate this special public lecture initiated by the Royal Thai Embassy titled Thailand's Democracy, Retreating or Moving Forward. As many of you already know, Thailand currently is going through a very critical time in the country's history. In the past 7 years, we have seen numerous incidences that, frankly, cannot be found in any political science textbooks in the world. Whether they are the large demonstrations, the phenomenon of the red shirts, yellow shirts, the numerous politicization of the judiciary, to the closing down of airports and the obstacles to the APEC summit, and most currently to the possibility of the dissolution of the Democrat Party that is facing some allegations from the courts. So all of these is it has been unprecedented for the Thailand's history. Now today, we are very fortunate to be joined by two distinguished professors who have directly flown from Bangkok, just arrived just now direct from the airport, to provide us their views of what will be happening in Thailand. So first of all, I'd like to introduce the first speaker, who is Professor Dr. Suchit Bunbongkarn. He is a professor that I highly respect, somewhat of a mentor to me when I was teaching at Chulalongkorn University. He is currently the Professor Emeritus of the Faculty of Political Science at Chulalongkorn University, where he was the Dean. And he's also the Senior Fellow at the Institute of Security and International Studies, where he used to be the chairman. He also now serves as the President of the Political Development Council, which is an important organization set up by the Constitution of Thailand. Dr. Suchit has a long list of practical experiences as well in the political sphere of Thailand. He was the member of the National Legislative Assembly in 2006 to 2008. He served as the Justice to the Constitutional Court from February 2000 to December 2004. He's also been the advisor to Prime Minister Prem. He's also served as the member of the Constitutional Drafting Assembly back in 1997. He's also the president of the Political Science Association of Thailand. Also, he's served in various committees that is important for Thailand's political development, such as the National Poll Watch Committee, the Counter-Corruption Commission, the National Counter-Narcotic Commission, and the National Research Council. So with all of these credentials, I'm sure that he can provide us important insights into the political developments of Thailand. So let's first give a round of applause to Professor Suchit.
Thank you.
Second, I would like to introduce Professor Chaya Yimvilai, who is currently now the Executive Director of the Institute of Good Governance Promotion, Office of the Public Sector Development Commission, under the Prime Minister's office. Now, this office is very important because they look after the reforms of public administration for the entire country. So Professor Chaya is holding a very important post. He's also the Committee on Research and Development of the Senate. He's the committee member on Political Reform and the Constitutional Amendment Committee. He's the subcommittee member on National Identity Commission. Also, he's an associate professor at the Political Science faculty of Thammasat University. He's served as government spokesman for Prime Minister Surayut Churanon. He's also been the advisor to Deputy Prime Minister Wisanu Kriyangam. And he has a long list of experiences as well that if I continue to go on, I'll be eating more into the time that they should be talking. So let's welcome Dr. Chaya. So each speaker will be speaking for about 20 minutes, and then we'll open for Q&A. Thank you. May I please let Dr. Suchit.
Thank you very much, Ora-orn. It's good to be here. Also, I've come to Singapore very often. I used to work as a researcher at the ISIS many years ago in 1980s, and I had a chance to visit Nanyang Technological Universities, the Institute of, the Rajaratnam School of International and Security Studies. But when I learned that I would be invited to give a talk at LKYSPP, I accepted without any reluctance at all because it's one of the most prestigious university, not in Singapore but in the region as well. See, so it's very good to come here and see the surrounding, and it's very terrific. So, and I love to come back, Ajahn Ora-orn. So please invite me again after this to see if I capable and eligible of coming here. Okay. Well, since we don't have much time, the flight delay at Thailand's from Thailand, the Thai national always delay. I don't know what happened. As somebody said, the TG is not to go tomorrow, or tomorrow go, something like that. You see, but anyhow, you see, we were able to make it on time. Well, Ajahn Ora-orn gave me only 20 minutes to speak, so I try to be very much focus to the point rather than to go around and around and around. So sometimes I cannot go into details. So if you have anything come up in your mind, please don't be reluctant to ask. See, I try to answer every question if I can. Well, what I'm trying to say today is that the government cracked down on the red shirt demonstrations in last May, as well as the extension of the state of emergency in Bangkok and some other provinces, and intimate relationship between the present government and the army in maintaining peace and security during and after the demonstration seem to suggest that Thai democracy is in disarray and prospect of a stable and sustainable democracy is in doubt. Well, we don't know whether this argument is holding any truth or not, whether it's convincing or not. Before we can make a judgment on that, see, we have to look at a number of issues which has influenced the change of power structure in Thailand at the moment. See, and one of the factors which has changed the power landscape in Thai political system is the rise of the so-called red shirt movement. This movement, the rise of this movement has reflected not only the economic and social gap between the urban rich and the rural poor, but also reflect the rising expectation of the people at the lower stratas. In the last 2 decades, the standard of living of rural villagers will improve substantially due to a number of rural development projects of the past governments. Nevertheless, the gap between the urban rich and the rural poor has continued to exacerbate as the rich are able to develop themselves at a faster rate than the poor. At any rate, due to the globalizations, due to the expansion of telecommunications, TV, satellite, TV, as well as mobile phone and all that, see, as well as the development of transportations, the highway network in the countryside, so on and so forth, you see, an increase of economic opportunity. Would you believe that at the moment in Thailand we have about 100 universities so far? 100. Not talking about the quality, you see. we can talk it later. But in terms of number, we have a number of universities, almost 100. So an increase of the educational opportunity for rural youngsters, and the migrations of villagers, particularly from the north and the northeast, to work in major cities, including Bangkok. The rural people are now exposed to a modern or materialistic way of life. So those developments have raised their expectation and demand. So this is the issue of rising expectation, not only the issue of economic and social gap. They demand more. They expect more. They want to be as the rich or the urban people has been living. So this is the problems of every government. But the point is, when Thaksin came to power, Thaksin responded quite interestingly well. Now, his patronage system responded well to the demands of the people, particularly in the north and the northeast. His government's populist policy provided the poor with a number of assistance like easy loans, easy cash, making them more dependent on his patronage. That is very easy to understand why the rural mass became discontent when Thaksin was out from premierships 3-4 years ago. I would say that the Red Shirts has been a formidable political force because of the ability of the pro-Thaksin leaders to politicize the rural discontents. So I would say in general terms, the gap between rich and poor, the rising expectation due to the influence of modernizations, globalizations, so on and so forth, so has raised people to become discontent when all the demands are not responded well. But the Thaksin, seemed to be able to respond it. But once he was out, the pro-Thaksin leaders began to politicize this discontent. Bringing Thaksin back to power was one of the objectives laid down by the leaders. And this was the most appealing to the people in the north and the northeast. In addition, some of the movement leaders, may I emphasize some of the leaders, not all the leaders. Some of the leaders were using the Marxist-Leninist ideology to make the movement a political force for a class struggle and for a change of political and social systems. Thus, the movement as appeared during its last protest, I would say was composed of those who supported Thaksin, as well as those who adhere to the leftist ideology, as well as a militant group which was not reluctant at all to use violence to achieve its aims. But more importantly, the success of the Red Church movement depends on the role of the former Prime Minister Thaksin as well. It is believed that Thaksin is behind the Red Shirt movement, although he often defended himself that he was only sympathetic with the movement. He didn't do anything except he was very sympathetic to these people. Nevertheless, the people believe that he is the major financial supplier or financial supporter of the movement, as well as the opposition party, the Pheu Thai party. One of the questions often asked is, what would happen if the former Prime Minister decided to give up and stopped all the financial support? No one can give a definite answer, but it is believed that the pro-Thaksin movement would be weakened substantially. So after the crackdown, the government has been trying to do something to make our democracy moving forward rather than step backward. I would say that the path towards a more stable liberal, I would like to emphasize liberal democracy, not controlled democracy. The path towards stable liberal democracies and the constitutional monarchy depends largely on the ongoing government reconciliation efforts and reform programs. The government has made it known that liberalism, rule of law, and the monarchy must be respected, and it has expected that the reconciliations as well as political, economic, and social reform would strengthen liberal democracy. But of course, these reforms are not an easy task. I would like to emphasize here is that in the past few years, the pro-Thaksin leaders has been able to exploit the so-called the concept of the freedom of the press, freedom of speech, to mobilize and to politicize the rural villagers who are the major supporters of Thaksin. They had set up its own newspaper. They had set up their community radio network, as well as a pay TV, which ran almost 24 hours a day political politicization program. And this is, I would say that only in Thailand this can be done. It cannot be done in Malaysia. It cannot be done in this country, or even in Indonesia, I doubt it. So they were able to exploit it. But after the crackdown, the government has come to an idea about social reform as well as economic reform. And within this reform, the reform of mass media is still in the agenda. But the government has been trying to say that all this reform, we must respect liberalism. We must respect rule of law. I don't know whether they can do it or not, because it's very difficult, you see, to reform as well as to maintain the so-called Western style of liberty and freedom. It's not very easy at all. Nevertheless, I would say that one of the issue of the government has put it as a top priority is to tackling the social and economic inequality. So the government has emphasized inequality. I would say that the government get this idea from the public. The public has convinced the government that the root cause of the rural discontent is the social and economic gap between rich and poor. And if the government want to reduce the threat of the red shirt movement, the gap must be narrow. The inequality must be tackled successfully. So it is hoped that if the gap is reduced, the rural poor's discontent will be lessened, and as a consequence, mass protests against the government and the so-called establishment will be less. Nevertheless, this reform program takes time and they cannot be completed within the term of this present government. I doubt it very much. What would happen to the reform program if the government fails to win the next election? The Democrat-led governments must win the next election if they want to reform to continue and to put the pro-Thaksin movement under control. However, the Democrat Party is now in trouble as the Election Commission has launched a complaint to the Constitutional Court to dissolve the party on the grounds that it had committed a mishandling of the state fund given to the party. So if the party fails to win the next election and all the court case, the pro-Thaksin party will gain more power, and of course the yellow shirt movement and the so-called conservative establishment will fight against them. The conflict between the two movements will be intensified, and the political instability will be inevitable. Thus, it would be a setback for Thai democracy. Of course, the rise of the red shirt movement has changed the power landscape of the country. From now on, the rural mass cannot be overlooked. But one of the problems is that there is no capable leaders at the moment in every movement, either red shirt or yellow shirt, in any political forces, including in the army, in the bureaucracy, and in political parties, including the Democrat, who can command respect nationwide. If liberal democracies is going to move forward, a capable national leader is needed. Opposite, the present Prime Minister is trying to be the one, using his reconciliation and reform programs. But of course, it takes time. It takes years. And there is no guarantee that it will be a success. So this is the problem. So it's something like a dilemma. Because if you want to win an election, you need to make a reform a success. But election might be coming very soon. The latest would be sometime next year. So how can the reform program can be a success within a year or two? That's almost impossible. So they are now trying to win the support of the mass through a various of the so-called welfare program. They don't call it a populist program, just simply a welfare program. They're launching a number of programs to win the vote of the part of the people, if it's possible. So I would say that Thai politicians are not that stupid. They know where the power lies. If they want to win in the next elections, the rural support is very important. But the question is, how can you beat Thaksin's groups who very much control the rural mass at the moment, particularly in the north and the northeast. So the present government is trying to win the heart of the people back. They try to do in a very short time. But at the same time, you see, the Constitutional Court is in the process of the deliberation of dissolving the party. That's a headache, not only the Democrats, but a headache for the Thai people as well. While we are moving forward, and then suddenly, the force behind the liberal democracy, the Democrats-led government, is in trouble. This is the problem that we are facing. So, what shall we do? I would say that the development of the people sectors is very important. The protests of the red shirt movement can be considered as a rise of the political consciousness of the rural people, which may be a positive sign of democratic development in the country. However, the way they protested largely depended on the leader orders on the leaders' strategies and the leaders' patronage. So I would say that these protests demonstrated that there is no strong feeling of citizenship and democratic political culture among the people. Therefore, the strength of the people sector of the civil society is to be developed if Thailand wants to keep liberal democracy alive and to move forward. We don't want the so-called controlled democracy. We don't want democracy with one-party rule, either on the left or on the right. We still very much enjoy multi-party system and liberalism. We have done a lot to improve the political structure, hoping that it would make our democracy stable, strong, and responsive to the need of the people. But economic and social inequality continues with no end in sight. The Political Development Council, which I am the president, has come up with the idea that in order to achieve reconciliations and strengthening our liberal democracy, we have to do something at the grassroots level. What we are doing is to encourage villagers to work together regardless of the shirt they are wearing, regardless of political inclinations, to identify their own problems and to put forward the resolutions. If it is beyond their capability, they would be encouraged to work through the political processes. So I believe that throughout this process, the existing influence of the patron-client relationships will be lessened. The villagers will no longer need a patron. They will learn how to stand on their own feet and to fight for their rights and social equality. This reminds me of a work by Alexis de Tocqueville, who put it in his work, Democracy in America, almost 200 years ago, and I quote, "The nations of our time cannot prevent the conditions of men from being equals, but it depends upon themselves whether the principle of equality is to lead them to servitude or freedom, to knowledge or barbarism, to prosperity or to wretchedness." Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Suchit. Now may I invite Professor Chaya to give his talk. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, Mr. Ambassador, academicians, scholars, students, medias, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I tell you honestly, to speak after Professor Suchit, it's a tough situation for me. First of all, he has been my senior fellow at Chulalongkorn University for over 10 years. In fact, I was kind of his brother, younger brother that is, and also as his student as well. So we have been known each other for about 30-some years. So I'm trying to follow his step even to come here. In fact, when I was invited by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to come here to LKYS, I do come to Singapore about 2 or 3 times a year on private function and sometimes on the governmental level. This is my first time to be on your campus here. It's quite beautiful, as I was imagined about your universities. So it's quite excited to be here, and I didn't make up my mind until a Friday evening, to come here. Anyhow, why the topic? It's quite difficult to talk, because if you talk about the Thai democracy, you have to understand the grassroots, its culture of the Thai society. It's a long, long history. We are talking about more than 700 or 800 years old. And if anybody of any group or any gang stay in one country, but with that deep down, hardcore Thai culture, Professor Suchit was talking about the Thai people behavior, the Thai people's culture. He was talking about we do enjoy, liberty so much. We do enjoy freedom so much. Especially at this moment, I have 3 sons, been educated abroad in England for so many years, and now they are 30, 26, and 24. And honestly, I try to let them free and give them so much freedom until my family got awarded about 3 years ago as a democratic family of Thailand. I mean, for heaven's sake, Anyhow, we don't have much time to talk about Pacific Ocean. I have only limited of time, and Professor Suchit has covered a lot of areas already. This is a very hard issue. This is a very major question when you're talking about the Thai democracy. You have to be able to understand Thai history. You have to be able to understand the Thai culture. And you have to understand the structure of the monarchy. You have to understand the structure of defense mechanism, whom I am talking about, army, armed force. And on top of everything else, you do have to understand the elite system of Thailand. It has a long route. Particularly, I'm sure you have heard the word, bureaucratic elite system or bureaucratic polity in Thailand that has rooted for more than 500 or 600 years. In fact, Ayutthaya period, 400 years something before this Ratanakosin period, which it has been in the Thai history for about 230 years already. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, when we are talking about Ayutthaya period, we are talking something is so sophisticated, the structure of power. We were talking about the elite system has been rooted so complicated. And that's why the balance of power has been like that for so long. I can call it today, I'm sure that, Professor Ora-orn, Professor Suchit, and a lot of scholars, even His Excellencies from the Thai embassy here, that the complicated Thai political system, the great and big value, and it has been with us for nearly 600, 700 years. I would like to call it all power. And what's happening for the past 15, 20 years, in fact, it didn't happen when Thaksin came into power. It happened before that, when General Chachai Chunawan. We are talking about, 25 or 30 some years ago. In fact, Professor Suchit was my eldest fellow, the professor. He was advisor to General Prem Tinsulanand. I was also his junior, walked after my senior peer group. I was also the advisor to General Prem Tinsulanand. Then I was 31 years old. When we are talking after General Prem Tinsulanand, and after he just washed his hand in the golden bowl, if you do understand what I mean. In other words, simply, he gave up power. He was in power for 8 years. And General Chachai Chunawan wasn't the one who always say no to step up in becoming a prime minister. But in fact, I knew him quite well too. I was joking to him that I think you was joking, sir, that you don't want to become the prime minister. He said, yeah, Chaya, I do not wish to come into power. But eventually, he took the job. Ever since General Chatichai was in power, it was the economic boom for Thailand. It was a quiet boom. For instance, you can buy an estate or a land in the morning, and you can sell it after noon, 1 o'clock. And you also can negotiate to resell it again at 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, with the price could be double or triple in one day. Just imagine. I think that was the beginning of the soap, if you do understand what I'm talking about. That was the period when we are talking about the business politics that came into action. It came into real Thai world. Especially it came into the Thai peoples, the Thai peasant, the Thai peasant, the rural people and the poor people. It doesn't matter where you are. And we still do have a lot of poor people in Thailand. In fact, I do not wish at all to reveal this to you. I'm sure you know it already. And second of all, it's in front of the camera. It's been capture my speech and my face, my eyes, and my thinking, you see. But anyhow, I am academic, world, and also I am in the media world in Thailand. The middle class in Thailand, the rich people, the figure is about 40% of the rich people. And for the middle class people, we had only not more than 30%. And the rest, it's all poor people. Maybe I got it wrong side. In other words, more rich people, I'm sorry, more poor people than the rich people. That's the right figure. Ever since General Chatichai came into power, the Thai politics, the basic elements has changed. The Thai public knowledge about politics has changed. Especially, I hate to say the words, the Thai people, this phrase, the Thai people begin to, if you do understand what I mean, I don't want to say the words begging. I mean just holding hands for cash, for ballots. And that's the fact, you see. And it's getting worse and worse and worse when Bunbongkarn came into power, make a project. And it's getting worse when we had General Chavalit in 1997 until he has to give up power by the force of people. And that force of people, eventually, it was controlled by some group, some interest group, some political party. And on top of everything else, again, the Thai bureaucracy, the old power. So the new power has been collapsed, not totally. After 1997, I'm sure you could recall the economic crisis started it in Thailand, so-called Tom Yam Gung disease. Ever since, the major finance economic structure on top has been collapsing bit by bit within 6 or 8 months. And eventually and finally, it has been touched the ground on the rural people. Just imagine this. For the year 1997, 98, 99 to a year 2000, what happened was a new party came into power called Thai Rak Thai, Thaksin party. When the Thai's economy about to collapse all. In fact, in the year of 1998 and 99, I was still then a civil servant in Thailand as professor at Thammasat University. Believe it or not, I'm sure His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, could confirm this, that we almost did not have salary to be paid to us because of the worst of the financial crisis in Thailand. But we got through. We got back on our feet. And Thai Rak Thai Party, I'm sure that Thaksin, he's a dream man. I'm sure that Thaksin was the one who tried to do good things for his country. That's why he was saying in his motto, in his slogan for his party, said, new thinking, do something new, think something new. You see, I still do confirm because I knew him quite well. I knew him very, very well. Smart guy, genius, businessman. I'm not even too sure now that his brain today it's still computer mind or not. He's a fast thinker and he's calculated so quick. Anyway, I do not wish to go, deeper than that. But I like to say this. The beginning of the Thai political crisis started then. The beginning of a new turn for Thai political movement has begun then. Again, I would like to make sure that Kun Thaksin did not at all wish it to be like this. But Lord Acton said, absolute power corrupted absolutely. He was in power so many years, for 5 years. Just imagine, he was treated like a king. He can point and he will get it. He wants to do this, he will get it. He wants to do this, he will get it. Until furthermore, he stepped on somebody's foot. He gains more, territories. He's getting out of his own territories. So he's trying to take someone else's property. He's trying to take someone else's concession. In other words, simply, I think it's his head got bigger. The law of nature, when you got a bigger head and so much big, you can't walk. You can't sit. Anyhow, I like to cut that short. When I was invited to come here to talk about the Thai democracy, retreating or moving forward, it's all simple topics. But if you concentrate on the topic itself, it's very tough answer, tough questions to answer. I even asked myself, what's going to happen to Thailand the next 2 years? What's going to happen to the UDD or the red shirt? Is the yellow shirt, the PAD, will return? I hate to say this, the Thai society has split into 3 or 4 groups. Yellow shirt, red shirt, and multicolored shirts. Who am I? What am I? Am I a red shirt? No. Am I a yellow shirt? No. Am I a multicolored shirt? No. I myself, I would like to say this to all of you. Sir, madam, I am one color, the king. I do respect him as a father. He has been into power, into throne, as a father figure, not only father figure, a father doing it to their children. So to answer this, I'm sure that you can set up this topic. Professor Ora-orn could have this topic over and over for the next 6 months or 1 year. That this thing's going to happen again, or will it be as bad? Is it over yet? No one can answer it, even myself. I comment on political issues, social issues, and economic issues every day on radio in Thailand nationwide. So I hate to say this, that what's going to happen next? Professor Suchit was saying what we are talking about the reconciliation and political reform scheme. I am one of the committee member of that committee. It's difficult to predict. It's difficult to forecast. Why? There are still a lot of underground movement happening, and you never know what's going to happen next. Is it able to control by the government? Is it able to control by the army? Is it able to control by the intelligence? Of course, they have been controlled, frame it somewhat. But anyhow, I think we are in the process of both retreating and try to move forward. If we do have time for 3 years to 5 years, I'm sure we'll be able to be retreated. I'm sure we'll be able to have a political reform. But we don't have that luxurious time. We have about maximum a year to 3 months. Opposite government, I would predict that his government will last top next August. Why? Because the next session for the National Assembly will be held in September, and it's going to be finished at the end of the year or earlier in August, But it will only consider it on the law legislature. That's all. You are not able to have the open non-confidence session. You see, opposite government was able to survive then until the reshuffle of the cabinet. I'm sure that he will be able to survive. According to the election commission, it will not be finished by the early part or the first part of the year 2011. Therefore, I would predict that this government will last until next February, and the opposition party, of course, will open the non-confidence session again, yearly. I'm sure opposite government will get by, will get through again. And what's going to happen, I think it has to be on the decision and on the Constitution Court. So I would say that this government will last at maximum, top time. It would be around August, and then will be the dissolve of Parliament. What is a government going to do? There will be a lot of populist policies. There will be a lot of things to be done. But for the conciliation and political reform, I would love to say this: if you are not able to do something about the proletariat and peasant people, if you're not able to do anything with the aristocrat or elite group in Thailand, and if the red shirt is able to penetrate and to be able to put into the people's mind, especially the northeast and the northern part of Thailand, or even some people in Bangkok itself, if that idea still there, in Thai words called Amat and Pride, aristocrat and proletariat. But these two groups are major groups from the Thai history for more than 700 years. But the red shirt tried to say that the aristocrat is controlling the power. Well, what's happening to Thaksin for 5 years? Wasn't he an aristocrat? Wasn't he a political businessman? Wasn't he a plutocratic politician? I would like to say the word again, a plutocratic politician. Wasn't he? And I hate to say this again, a lot of politicians sitting 480s in the parliament from the lower house, I would say half of them are plutocratic politicians. Therefore, I do have a limited of time. I hate to say that we do not have that kind of luxurious time, especially according to the Constitution. Opposite terms will be finished if he can drag it on to next September. It will be finished by December of 2011. That's it. Regarding all the three major committees had been set. First of all, is the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. Professor Kadit Natakorn, he's a chair. The Political Reform and Constitutional Amendment Committee, Professor Sombat Thamrong Thanyawong, he's a chair. I am also a member. We have only 19 committee members in there. And the latest it seemed to be U and R for the Thai political arena. It's from Mr. Anand Paranyachun, the former Prime Minister, and from a Dr. MD, that is Praved Wasi. It's national reform panels, 2 committees. And this will be supported, and we will have an office for 2 or 3 years. That will be our last hope, because the first one and the second one will be gone within 7 or 8 months, or will be gone with opposite government. So the big question is this: will this work, or this committee? It will work somewhat. It will do some, mechanism bit by bit. It will have some answer, it will have some plans, some programs, some scheme. But will it be able to satisfy the red shirt? Will it be able to satisfy the yellow shirt? Will it be able to satisfy the Thai public, the Thai society? That's a big question. I think we are not in the process of saying anything. Will it moving forward, or will it be retreating? I think the Thai democracy, I say the Thai democracy, I do not say the ideal democracy. The Thai democracy since 1932, before World War II, for 78 years, we've been swirling, struggling, fighting for power, a coup d'etat. We have about altogether now 18 constitutions already. Why there was a coup? 5 more minutes. Why there was a coup, and why there were coups? Corruption, fighting for power. Underneath the whole truth is the old power and the new power still going on in Thailand. What should we do? It takes broad-minded. It takes time. It takes sincerity. It takes strong determination. It takes durability. Last but not least, it takes people's sincerity, people's participation. How long will it take? I am 58 years old. I'm sure that I will be able to see it when I'm 65. So all in all, ladies and gentlemen, one still remains question. I would like to say this: will the Thai public, the Thai people change? Will the Thai people learn what happened for 78 years? Especially Thai politicians and Thai political parties. Do they understand the words good governance. That's why I have been invited to become the executive director of this department. I think the crisis of May 2010 is a sharp turn, a sharp curve to cut your risk. And it's about time for Thai people to be alert, all sectors, and to be able to change for a better Thai democracy. So come back to the topic, retreating or moving forward. I do respect Professor Suchit very much for the past 30-some years. I'm sure if I ask him this question, he will ask me back, what do you think? I want your answer too, as my student and younger brothers. I have asked this question to a lot of Thai people, Thai scholars, Thai media, Thai politicians. I think we should ask Octopus Paul, or ask Singapore Parrot, also chair in the FIFA World Cup also. Last but not least, I have some figures, some numbers. How come Prime Minister Abhisit Vejjajiva he doesn't wish to dissolve his parliament? If today the dissolve of parliament next happening in, say, October, Pheu Thai party, Thaksin's party, will return so many seats. Why? The northeastern part, there are 138 seats. Plus the northern part, 70 seats. Now we are talking about 200 seats. We have only 480 seats in the lower house. On top of that, in the central area, 50 seats. Now we are talking about 250 something. And we are talking about Bangkok. The election will happen next Sunday on 25th of July. But I have a deep gut feeling or a hunch that Abhisit party will win the seat. You know, so it will prove it has a symbolic political agenda on this. So anyhow, if Abhisit dissolve the parliament today, it's take a fat chance to become opposition, unless a minor parties and try to form the government, becoming a coalition government, just like what happened 2 years ago in my country. Anyhow, I'm trying as hard not to touch any sensitive pinky area, especially to the constitutional monarchy, and also about Thaksin that much. But all in all, what's happening to my country is a matter of the density of plutocracy or business politics. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chaya. Now we have approximately 15 minutes for Q&A. So I'd like to open this up to the floor. Yes, you can go up to the microphone, please. Oh, okay, sure.
All right. Thank you. I did ask the ambassador whether frankness is permitted. And let me tell you that in Sanskrit we have a saying which states that what we do not understand, we explain to each other. I'm afraid that's how I look at today's talks. My feeling about Thailand is, and I am an old Thai resident, you said you were, what, 58? Reverse it, and I'm 85 in October. Yes. So it looks like the patient, the nation of Thailand, is flat out on its back. Its soul, upon which it gave birth, the soul of the religion of Buddhism, is thoroughly corrupted. It cannot motivate moral rectitude in the people of Thailand. As a matter of fact, when Nayaka from Cambodia, Kosananda, came at the invitation of your Sangaraja, and they asked him at the Bangkok Post, what do you think of Thai Buddhism? He says, there's no Thai Buddhism, there's no Buddhism in Thailand. It's a mixture of animism, Brahmanism, and some other kind of stuff, but there's no Buddhism. So with all these golden temples and all that, it's a complete mess. Now, the other thing, very surprising, you people are from Thailand, isn't it? And yet, here is the body of Thailand flat out, but none of you, while you have mentioned that this virus has afflicted it, that virus has afflicted it, and that you knew this particular man and that particular man, you seem to have forgotten that what you have done is truncated Thailand. I believe there is another part of Thailand also, and that's in the south. And you have offered nothing for that. As a matter of fact, some years ago, I talked to one of my friends, he's one of your prime ministers. Coming from the airport, you saw a gigantic billboard in those days. I don't know whether any of you noticed it, but I brought it up to the prime minister. Not this one, but the other one. And I said, this is anathema to the Muslims. What did the billboard say? The billboard said D-O-G, and underneath that, G-O-D. Yes, 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 I even took a picture of it. The point is very simple. According to the Muslim hadith, the dog is not a clean animal. Now, you should know that. But they see His Majesty sometimes playing with dogs. So they are hard put. On one hand, loyalty to the king, and another aversion to this creature from their own religious beliefs. So I think Thailand, the patient, is going to have a major makeover. These little tidbits about whether the red shirts, yellow shirts and anything, and the major makeover will not begin among the different colored shirts. It will have to begin from the very core of Thailand, which is its beliefs, its moral power, its religion. And there I think is a task so Herculean that I don't see any change possible. But thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your comment. Would you like to respond to that comment?
Well, thank you. May I call you grandfather? You don't look 85 at all, sir. You look about top to me, top 72, but you look handsome and healthy. It's tough for all of us here, especially to Professor Suchit. Thank you for your honesty and for your sincerity. Again, with all those deep things in what you have said, I think you love my country. Thank you.
Yes, I've been a resident of Thailand for the last 50 years.
Okay.
I'm only 8 years old.
Thank you, sir. Anyway, it's difficult, and honestly, it's difficult for me as a Thai people to come here to another country to talk about my country. But after all in all, we've been struggling all these things. The southern part, I myself, sir, on radio program, at least once a week, I talk to the Thai people on radio. I said, please, do not forget the South. Please, do not ignore the South. Please, do not let the South becoming an ordinary life, because it's happening for 5 or 6 years already. Still, some bombing, some killings happening, 3 to 5, militaries, men, and also innocent people. But all of this, sir, if you could recall, if you do understand the Thai history, if you do understand Thailand, we've been struggling, we've been going through hard hate. I hate to say the words, please forgive me, all of you. We've been through shit so many times, but we are still able to survive. The GDP of Thailand today, up until now, We've been saying and forecasting by scholars, by IMF people, by ADB, by lots of people, that the GDP of Thailand will grow at least 5.5. Honestly, people, I don't believe it, because I still don't believe it. But I am sure it will not be that bad before. Secondly, the value of Thai baht, still 32, comparing to US dollars. And everything else, what's happening, sir? I believe that only was a political issues about red shirt, about the aristocrat, about proletariat. It's political issues, but they were trying to pull it to become a social issue, and they were trying to split my country. You see, will it happen? I don't think so, sir. Thank you.
For your response, Dr. Chaya. Who has
Can we get Dr. Chaya to talk to us about the democracy reform that he's in charge?
Mm-hmm.
I agree with the gentleman that Thailand seems to be hopeless at this moment.
No, I didn't say that. Not forbidden.
But we are Thai, and we will never say that.
No, but I never said that.
Okay. So may I ask, perhaps you can, to ensure
Well,
the smoothness of the conversation, let's, can you just briefly introduce yourself and make your question
My name is
succinct?
Jay. I'm 65 years old. I'm a Thai resident staying in Singapore for the past 30 years. I am a Thai deep down in heart and in thinking, and I believe that we will survive this crisis, provided we all put our heart together and put our hands together. I like to spend the next few minutes to hear from Professor Chaya about the bureaucracy reform that he's in charge. I'm grateful to Dr. Suchit when he talked about trying to develop our people so that they become more enlightened, they become more emancipated about how democracy works. But I'm very confident that with all the hearts and hands that we have among the Thais, both here and everywhere, we will survive, we will prevail from this crisis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kun Jae. Can I take about 2 more questions while Dr. Chaya prepares his answer? Michael?
I want to address myself to Ajahn Suchit, please. My name is Mike Manasano from the Institute of Southeast Asian Studies. Sir, first of all, I want to thank you genuinely for the spirit of moderation and liberalism that has marked your comments today. Many of us who are stuck outside of Thailand now worry. And I will tell you that the spirit of moderation and liberalism that characterized your comments is reassuring to many of us who are friends of the country. I have 2 specific questions for you, sir. One relates to the role that you assigned to the Democrat Party in your presentation, a role as a neutral party between the extreme yellow and extreme red. Those of us who are outside of Thailand wonder about dynamics within the party. We look at the difference in political style between the Prime Minister and Mr. Suthep. We look at the marginalization of your former colleague Ajahn Sukumpan, and we wonder whether you could tell us more about the dynamics within the party and how those dynamics might affect the role that you assign the party in your scenario. My second question relates to some comments that an old friend of yours, Professor Duncan McCargo, was quoted as making in the Economist this past week. Professor McCargo said that the creation of a committee with a long mandate under the leadership of Kun Annan reminds him of the Reconciliation Committee that was created to address the Southern crisis. Now, we remember that when that committee reported its findings, such as making Malay a working language, the president of the Privy Council, General Brame, scoffed at that idea instantaneously. And what McCargo says in The Economist is that the failure of that earlier Annan-led committee to bear fruits undermines the credibility of another committee led by Kun Annan today. And I wonder about your response to that critique that Professor McCargo is offering. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Michael. So perhaps Dr. Chaya, you would like to answer the first question for about 1 to 2 minutes, and then we'll let Dr. Suchit answer Michael's question.
Well, I like to say this: it's quite difficult to talk about the things that happened in your countries, and it's quite difficult to anticipate, to predict what's going to happen to Thailand. Thank you very much for both of you, sir, who have lived in Thailand and also Thai people live in Singapore. This is a controversial time, really, to talk about the Thai democracy, what's going to happen, especially with the red shirt group still boiling somewhere, somehow, with the yellow shirt still preparing to put a charcoal and prepare also a water to make it boil. Again, I'd like to make it short. Thank you very much for having so close attention to my country. Again, what's happening now? Again, I would like to go back. Balance of power, people's participation with sincerity. But is it a bright light at the end of the tunnel? I do see a light, but I'm not too sure how bright it is. But we will try our very best as a Thai people, as the motherland. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. Let me answer on the issue of Kun Anand Reconciliations Committee first. Well, I would say that what Kun Anand did in the area of the South on his reconciliations is one thing, and what he's doing now is another. I would say that the issues that was raised by General Prem on the language is only one of the factors, not all the factors concerning the issues confronting the South. So I would say that Kun Anand has proposed a number of things, and there are something going on at the moment. For instance, in terms of language, I might say that in the very near future, Yavi might be accepted as a working language. At the moment, there are some experimental schools who try to teach students in 2 languages at the same time, Thai language as well as Yavi language. So it's quite possible that reconciliation in terms of language is going to be accepted. But there are something more than language, something like cultural factors, social inequality, so on and so forth. So I would say that when we are tackling the issue of inequality, we should include the South. We should not look at the North and the Northeast, and that's all, because the South is very serious, and I would say that we cannot overlook the issue of inequalities in the South. So thank you for your comment, and the language is one of the things that we are looking forward to have some sort of Yavi as a one of the working language. About the Democrats Party, of course, yes. Well, I would say that Democrats is the only real party in the country. See, although in terms of a number of seats in the parliament, they're not the largest, but they are the oldest. And the way they manage the parties, they try to use the so-called democratic principle, and it is the must. Otherwise, the Democrat would be split into 5 or 6 smaller parties. So if they want to accommodate all the various groups together, they have to do having some sort of some different political wings inside. Because you look at the Deep South, that's one issue, and the South, Songkhla, Nakhon Si Thammarat, and Pathalung provinces are the other issues. See, and then how about Bangkok, and then the surrounding area. So you have to look at the some sort of accommodation that the Democrats Party is trying to work it out. Of course, Suchit is a Bangkok MP, although he at the moment is not a Bangkok MP because he ran on the party list almost a nationwide, but his power base is in Bangkok. Kun Suthep in Surat Thani, and Sukhumpan he's a Bangkok governor. So and you look at very interesting. You have a combination of people with different background. Sukhumpan is a loyalist. He's a lawyer. He belongs to loyal families. And a number of the elite group in the Democrat were Western educated. You see, Kun Tarin and Kun Savit were Harvard and MIT educated. Kun Apisit, Kun Kuan and Kun Sukhumpan, Oxford and Cambridge educated. If these people were in Singapore, they would become minister, prime minister already, because this type of people Lee Kuan Yew wanted very much. But in the case of Thailand, you see, you need to win the heart and mind of the rural people. Sometimes they don't know where Oxford was. See, where Oxford is. And not only Oxford. Apisit didn't graduate from Oxford only. He came from Eton. That's even worse. The people said, where's Eton? Why was so important? You see? Why? What is it? You see? So this is the thing. And then Kun Suthep, you see, he's from Chiang Mai University, educated from US. And we have a number of local leaders who just simply educated in the country with any, with no background in terms of studying abroad. So if you have this group of people sitting together and you don't use patronage system to control the party, then you have to work with accommodation and you have to allow some sort of split of differences of opinions and attitude inside. And how about other parties? Is there any difference at all? Yes, there is. But the control of these people is different. Kun Thaksin, you see, the way he control Thai Rak Thai party, the way Kun Samak through Kun Thaksin, Kun Thaksin through Kun Samak and Kun Somchai control the party. It was a patronage system, using money. That's all. Keep people shut, but not in the Democrat. So this is the thing that facing difficulty of the Democrat Party. So I would say that it's quite a pity if this party is dissolved by some stupid thing. So I disagree with these rule and regulations. If any leaders of any political parties commit something wrong, they should be prosecuted, not the party. Not the party, because party has members. And like some of them belong to this party and that party, and then they didn't know anything what happened, then suddenly the party was dissolved. So I don't think it worked. It worked because look at Thai Rak Thai was dissolved. And then is there any impact? No. Thai Rak Thai continue to be another party with another name, the People's Power Party. People's Power Party dissolved. Then you have Pheu Thai Party. And this continuity exists because of one person, the patron. But the Democrat Party is different because the Democrat Party has no patron. So once the party disappears, it disappears. That's a sad story. Thank you.
Unfortunately, the lecture has to end. Due to the time constraints, if not, then we can actually continue the conversation for many hours because the issue in Thailand is very complicated. But it's been an honor to moderate this session, to listen to the valuable analysis provided by Professor Suchit and Professor Chaya. Please join me in thanking them once again.